All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive. Today we're looking at Queen Elizabeth II, becoming queen. And I mean, talk about drama. It's London, 1952. King George VI dies. And this, young woman is suddenly thrust into leadership. It's huge. We're going to use in this article, The Crowning of the Clueless. It's by Stephen Pinkwart. Don't let the title throw you off. It's got a lot of good stuff. Really smart insights about storytelling.
Yeah.
And who better to talk about it with than our expert?
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting piece. He uses this whole event, this transfer of power, to show us how to make a story really hit hard.
Yeah.
It's not just history. It's like a masterclass in storytelling.
Yeah. And Elizabeth had so much pressure. She's got to lead a country. But there's also all this bias about women being leaders. Pinkwart really sets the scene. He talks about all these whispers like, is she strong enough?
Mm-hmm.
Will she be able to stand her ground? Or, will she just fall apart? It's intense.
Yeah, that's what draws you in, that uncertainty. You have to know if she'll make it.
It's a classic story, right? Young, untested person thrown into something crazy. And speaking of drama, Pinkwart, he makes this distinction between, drama and, let's be honest, melodrama. And he says, good storytelling is knowing the difference.
Yeah, and he uses this great analogy. Imagine you drop a glass, you're waiting for it to hit the floor. That anticipation, the wondering if it'll break, that's drama. But melodrama, that's when you, totally lose it. Crying over the pieces. It's too much. It's like telling the audience how to feel.
Yeah. Instead of letting them experience it themselves.
Exactly. And he says this is true for any kind of story. You have to show, not tell. Don't just say what someone's feeling. Show it. Through what they do, descriptions, details. Let the audience put it together.
Right. And he gives some great examples. Instead of saying Elizabeth was nervous, he says something like, her heart was pounding so hard she thought the palace was shaking. You can feel it, right? It's like, you're right there with her. He also talks about her holding a spoon so tight that the design is burning into her skin. Again, that kind of detail.
Pulls you right in.
That goes straight to your gut, not your head.
Yeah.
And Pinkwart gives this awesome advice. He says, kill your explanations. He says, emotion isn't description, it's action. So he doesn't say Elizabeth is strong. He shows it. Her tough look, her controlled movements.
You let the actions do the talking. And this leads us to...
a moment.
Right. The coronation, June 2nd, 1953. The whole world is watching to see what she'll do. And how does she handle it? Pinkwart describes it perfectly, he says. Staring into the camera as if she had never done anything else. No blinking, no trembling, just pure control.
Chills, right? It's like she's staring down everyone who ever doubted her.
It's intentional. It's showing strength. It's telling everyone to back off. And it's not just for queens. Anyone in charge can learn from this. It's about showing confidence, not just saying it.
So we've got the setup. A young queen, people who doubt her, a crazy coronation. But how does this fit into Pinkwart's bigger idea about storytelling?
That's what's so interesting about this piece. He's using Elizabeth's story as an example of how to use these techniques to get what you want. He shows us how building drama, showing instead of telling, letting action speak, all of that can be used in any story, like writing a book, giving a presentation, or even just, getting your point across at work.
I see. We're getting the bigger picture now.
Yeah.
But I got to know, what happens next? How does Elizabeth actually handle being queen, wielding that power?
Well, that's when it gets even better. Pinkwart goes on to talk about how Elizabeth used these techniques not just at the coronation, but throughout her time as queen. She had to, deal with a world where a woman in charge wasn't really accepted. And Pinkwart's saying she did it partly by becoming a master storyteller, through her actions.
Okay, now I'm really interested. What kind of actions? Running a country isn't exactly like an action movie.
True, but it is about making decisions, taking a stand, showing an image that that controls how people see you. Pinkwart talks about Elizabeth's dedication to tradition, her serious look, even her clothes, all chosen to create this feeling of strength and stability.
So it's like she knew that every time she was in public, every speech, every conversation, it was all part of telling a story about who she was and what she represented.
Yeah, exactly. And she played the part perfectly. Think about those famous images of her riding horses, inspecting the troops, always dressed perfectly, never, letting her guard down.
It's funny because it just seems like she's being herself. But Pinkwart's saying there's more to it. This deliberate way of creating her image.
Right, like she's saying, I'm not going to waste time explaining myself or why I deserve to be here. I'm just going to be the queen so clearly that there's no question.
So she's using those same techniques we talked about.
Yeah.
Showing, not telling.
Yeah.
Letting actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about strength. Pinkwart also points out times when she showed compassion, vulnerability, but always in a controlled way that never made her look weak.
It's like she understood that a well-timed tear, a moment of real emotion, could connect with people.
Right. And it's that balance again. Drama, not melodrama, never giving too much away. Always keeping that royal composure.
It makes me think about how we present ourselves every day. Maybe we could all learn from Queen Elizabeth.
I think so. It's about being aware of the stories we tell. Through our choices, our actions, even how we look. And knowing that those stories affect how people see us.
Like we're all on a stage, kind of, and how we act can either help or hurt our own stories.
That's a great way to put it. And I think Pinkwart would agree. He sees Elizabeth as proof that storytelling isn't just about words. It's about everything we do, everything we put out into the world.
So Pickwart's saying Queen Elizabeth was more than just a queen. She was a storyteller, using her actions and image to control how people saw her reign and build her legacy.
And I think what's great about Pinkwart is that he connects this historical example to these bigger storytelling ideas that we can all use. He's reminding us that we're all storytellers, whether we know it or not.
And that the stories we tell can change not just our own lives, but the world around us.
Exactly. And that's pretty powerful, don't you think?
It really is. It makes you want to look at your own story, how you present yourself, your choices, how you affect others. Speaking of re-examining things, did Pinkwart say anything else about Elizabeth's leadership? Any more interesting insights?
Well, he talks about Elizabeth's ability to, as he says, remain clueless. He talks about Elizabeth's ability to, as he says, remain clueless. Now, before you think she was actually clueless, he's talking more about like having this air of, authority, but also being detached.
Oh, I'm listening. Clueless sounds a little risky for a queen. How does that even, work?
Well, Pinkwart's argument is that by seeming a bit removed from the day-to-day politics, she actually made her position stronger. Let her be above all the fighting and be this symbol of unity for the nation.
So it's like she's above the messy stuff of politics, representing something bigger and more lasting.
Exactly. And this goes back to controlling the narrative, right? By not getting caught up in explaining everything or reacting to every little thing, she kept this sense of mystery and, mystique.
It's almost like she's a blank slate that people can project their own hopes and ideas onto.
That's a great way to put it. And Pinkwart suggests this cluelessness wasn't just something that happened. It was a choice that gave her a different kind of power, the power of symbolism, of representing something beyond just herself.
It's interesting how he takes this seemingly negative thing, cluelessness, and turns it into a good thing. It's like he's making us rethink what we believe about leadership and power.
And isn't that what a good deep dive does? Makes you see things in a new way, question what you think you know.
Totally. And I think what Pinkwart's saying is super relevant today. I mean, we're always getting hit with information and everyone's got an opinion about everything. Maybe a little cluelessness strategically, of course, is what we need to deal with all the craziness.
It's about choosing your battles, focusing on the big picture and not letting yourself get dragged into every drama.
It's knowing that sometimes less is more, that silence can be powerful, and that being calm and collected can be the best way to, show your strength.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to wrap things up.
So, as we finish our deep dive into Queen Elizabeth and the power of storytelling, I hope you're leaving with some new ideas about how to create your own stories. And it doesn't matter if you're leading a country or just figuring out your own life. It's not just what you say, but what you do, how you present yourself, and the stories you tell through your choices.
And if you want to get better at this whole storytelling thing, check out Pinkwart's book recommendation, Poetry Master Poesy Craft in 7 Tagen. You might just discover the power of cluelessness for yourself.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What stories are you telling through what you do? What narratives are you shaping, even if you don't realize it? It's something to think about, wouldn't you say?
It is indeed.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, the power of storytelling is inside you. Be creative, Stefan.